All right, so we call to order our meeting here, May 19th. The Dart Board is meeting. And these are the folks who were here last week on May 12th. So thank you for being there then. And if you're here now, thank you for being here now. All right, so this is our project. Um, Now again, I'm trying
Joe,
to do
Joe,
right.
you're not sharing, Joe.
I'm not sharing. How can that be? Okay, hold on.
Well,
Oh,
you're sharing your portrait, but not what you want us to see.
hold on,
Yeah.
just a second.
He knows he's not sharing the screen, but I have my video, I have my audio back, by the way.
I got it. How about now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, yep.
Okay, very good. All right, I'm glad. Thank you. And I should have asked that question, I guess, before we started. Anyway, this is the meeting of the dartboard meeting, May 19th, 2025. We call it to order, and these are the people who were there last week and so on. So this is our project. Now, again, this is not a perfect slide. I make a lot of this stuff up just because I'm just trying to get organized. And if there's a photo here that you have a better one of, like Tony may have a better photo, but when I write emails or
I sent you
correspond, I
one
like
last
to
week
look at people.
or the
So
week before.
anyway, all right. So that's what this is, and this is also everybody you see here. This is the copy list. Okay. So if you're wondering, no, our emails do not go out to the entire club. They will at some point, but they will be addressed to the entire club. But this is the group, and if it needs updating, please let me know. I'm more than happy to make it accurate. Here's some feedback. We looked at this last week. I know if you see your name up here, these are areas of interest by members here. So if this needs updating, please let me know. And it's best to send me an email. That's my best form of communications. So, and we'll get that updated. Just to remind everybody, we're we're taking sort of a combined approach. We're going to stay on Zoom because Zoom has the best video uh, processes, but we need a place to share our files. So we will use Microsoft Teams just for file sharing. So this is the name of the project, the grant project. There's 5 phases. We're only, for now, talking about phase alpha. Well, that's not true, actually. We're talking about phase alpha and phase bravo. Okay. And so what happens is this is what the files will look like. I mean, it'll be more organized, but something like that. That's where we'll keep our files, and that's where we will keep our photos. Now, what do we have ahead of us? We want to, number one, define the desired functionality. What that means is forget about equipment, forget about it. We just need a list of what we want this system to do and what we want it to accomplish. And then once we have our goals of what we want this thing to accomplish, then we can move forward. Now, one of those big questions is digital platform. Now, I've heard different things from different people. Should we be DMR? Should we stay at Fusion? Should, all that. So that's something that needs to be figured out amongst many other characteristics. We will create a list of hardware candidates and then rate the hardware candidates according to whether they meet our capabilities or not. So, for example, I think we're a little bit out of Um, we're a little bit out of order, but all right, let me just keep going. I don't know how these slides got here, but anyway, here are some possibilities for the Yaesu. I mean, for the repeater itself, there's a Yaesu, a Motorola. The Motorola is probably the gold standard. ICOM and Hytera. We'll talk about that later. There's more about this later on. Okay, so this is our existing block diagram that we will use until we update this. And part of the process will be to do two portions of it in terms of when it comes time to build the rack. We'll do a rack layout, and then we'll do the wiring between equipment. So we'll have some paperwork to work with there. This is totally outdated, so it's a piece of history, and this will remain in our archives. It represents the way the repeater has been working for almost 2 decades, maybe more. So it's just part of the historical library where we'll keep our documentation. I know I keep saying I'm going to update this, and I am, but I haven't been able to this week because we've been working on other aspects of it. But right now we are in that phase of where we have our project plan developed, and it's pretty well far along, and plotting the existing footprint, which we'll talk about. We want to get some proposals in by the end very soon, actually. There's nothing now holding us from proposals except we have to decide on the antenna and so on and so forth. Then we'll select a vendor, we'll purchase the equipment. We got to transport it. It'll be delivered. Right now, until I hear differently, everything will be delivered to Len's garage, and that'll be the staging area. The hardware will be assembled in his garage and tested, and then we'll have a little burn-in period, and then it'll be moved over to Oak Park where it will be installed.
I have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, this is just in the planning stage, but let's keep in mind when it's time to buy the antenna and it comes in on truck, we have to find it'd be cheaper for freight to find a commercial company that will be willing to accept the package. Then we can pick it up from that company, if that makes any sense. If I was working for GIC where I used to work and they still were down here, I get permission to have them accept the package because it's 20 feet long. That's when we're at the point where we're going to buy the antenna.
Yeah.
I just want to make that comment right now while I'm thinking of it.
Good. Oh, absolutely. The transportation part of this and delivery, and also a recording or the documenting of received items. We have to work out that procedure, but we will do that.
I can make that request to see whether I can have it received in work, but it cannot be stored there for probably more than 24 hours.
Okay, well, let's get with Len because he has his ideas too.
Yeah, and I can easily come get almost any day.
Oh, you got that great pickup truck.
Yeah, so
Yeah. And a pickup truck would be probably the right vehicle, not a Yugo.
You should have seen when we had to pick up the tracking antenna for the space station project. This is it has the what do you call it? The boom, and then it has the two antennas that follow. Anyway, this thing was sitting in the back of Mike's truck as he was driving down whatever that street was there. It was pretty funny looking. I wish I had a picture of it. Because from the right angle, if you're looking at the right angle, you can see the truck, you see the cab of the truck, then you see these two monster arrays popping out of the top of it. Anyway, all right, that's another thing. All right, so just again, these are some of the goals that we're aiming for, and I just want to read them again. And I know we did this before, and we'll go through them one more time, but needless to say, we need a reliable transmit and receive coverage area, which we're going to investigate here shortly. I got some slides on that. Emergency power backup, which we're pretty much there because the whole building is on backup. It's technically, I mean, from an electrician standpoint, it's a medical facility because there's oxygen equipment and so on. So the whole building's on generators, so we're good there. Although we have never, ever actually confirmed during a blackout that we're still on the air because the repeater is pretty far away, but we'll need to figure that out as well. We need beaconing and station ID, which we currently have, so that's not too much of a problem. Then digital crossband linking, which we're aiming for that when we set up our link between the VHF and UHF facilities. The various in and out ports, audio recording and logging, redundancy. So this is very interesting. So if we keep, there was a question about what do we do with the existing equipment? So if we keep the existing equipment, we'll use that as a backup repeater with a redundancy switch. I mean, what else are we going to do with it? And we might as well do that. Then we have the hybrid analog digital support and automated message playback, which I think is one of the nice things of our repeater that I don't hear on other repeaters. And it may be that they're there, I just don't hear them. Okay, so this is pretty much the same thing. We're going to have to define the footprint, which we'll talk about shortly, frequency coordination, and thank you. Thank you, Mike, for looking after our frequency coordination with Mark, Michigan Amateur Radio Council, I think is the name of it. So that's terrific.
Yeah, it's Michigan Amateur Repeater something. I'm still working on it as we speak. So
that's great. And thanks for looking after that. That's very, very important. Adequate isolation between.
Can I make another comment just
yes,
for
please,
everybody? When we talk about this coordinations and all the paperwork associated with it, we want to keep it somewhat confidential. A lot of repeater owner trustees keep the site, the GPS locations and everything. That's why you don't see it on in the repeater books, especially the remote receiver sites and the frequencies. Somebody could easily jam it. Or they could take over a site and steal the equipment, or oh my God. So generally speaking, we want to keep this stuff quiet.
Right.
We don't want to publish it.
And we thank Hugh for pointing out during our last meeting. Hugh noticed that we did have our latitude and longitude on there. So correct.
Well,
and
yeah, we don't transmit on the airband frequency either. So I took care of that.
The other thing that we don't publish either are the auxiliary link frequencies. That's other than we register them, of course, right? But we don't have that normally on public information. Although if somebody calls, we can't withhold it if somebody has a specific reason. But we just generally, as a rule, don't pass it out. Reliable transmitter.
One more tidbit of information. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, Joe.
Okay, go ahead.
And I have to say it when I think about it. Was it last week or the week before the Oakland County ARPSC meeting? It was mentioned. One of the guys in the group maintains all the two-way radio equipment on the hospitals. And he mentioned that one day he stepped into an area up on the roof of one of the hospitals and found equipment that was put in there without anyone knowing about it. And he said it was amateur radio equipment. So we have to be careful, especially when we're dealing with hospitals. I just wanted to, he didn't mention which hospital or whose equipment. I don't even remember the call sign. I know his name was Ken. I'd like to get with him in person and find out more information. But,
right, and that's why we reached out to the landlords there at the apartments to let them know, because we were there all that time for decades, and they didn't even know we were up. I mean, so the superintendents did, but the management did not. So absolutely, full disclosure there. Station identification, community accessibility, and here, very important, remote monitoring and maintenance. So there. So here are some of the things that we're looking at to do. Match system requirements of the bill of materials, what we talked about. We want to prepare the RFQs and get them out to the vendors and get some proposals in. We're going to plot the footprint. I'll show you how we'll do that. RF interference. Somebody had written in that there's RF interference, but we're going to talk about that in pursuing slides here just shortly, how we can run that down. Uh, Set up a test bed for 5 gigahertz. Yeah. So, I mean, we can buy the link now and send it over to Len's Garage and set up the link once you guys want to begin testing the data streams over RF. So we don't have to wait till we install that. We can do that early on. What do we
Glenn's
do?
Garage. That's a great name for a bar or a
It is.
sitcom.
Well, it's like Leno's Garage, right? You ever watch that?
I
Yeah.
love it.
This is Len's Garage. Okay, what do we do with the old equipment? Replacing the links, and so on. So this is all just things that are on our to-do list. And so we have to go through and solidify what it is we're buying exactly. This is okay, but we need to look at it a little bit closer, and we'll get some pricing on it. The IP networking team is hard at work, and I just cannot have a slide without a graphic, so I just pulled this down and put it there as a placeholder. I know that both Dave is working on this along with John and Mike KAWU, I think, had a hand in it, and so on and so forth. So anyway, and of course, Tony, don't forget. So we have a good team, a really strong data team, and that's really the heart of what this is about. So now let's talk about antennas here. So this is our antenna that we currently have, as you'll know, and I just want to point something out. What's very interesting, this particular antenna we have here, we have about 7 dB of gain and so on. So we want to match at least that. So I had this in the plan early on, only to find, well, I don't think it's available anymore. In fact, this whole company doesn't seem to be around anymore. So I'm not sure what's Wisco, whatever they are. Now, RFS, of course, is around, but and
Oh, I have to say another thing.
Yes.
I'm pointing at note below 150 megahertz. Rated gain for both antennas is 4.8 dBd due to length constraints.
Right. Okay.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry for
All
interrupting.
right. So let me look.
I'm doing it again.
All right. So here are our options that I found. Okay. So we have 5 options. So we have the Diamond X510. Okay. It's about $2,100. This is the folded dipole. Personally, I'm not a big fan of folded dipoles. I think they're ice magnets because the rainwater, anyway, it doesn't matter. But listen, it's about what works best. And so this is what we're going to vote on. And I want to make this available to everybody on our call here. So this is option 1, the diamond antenna there. Then option 2, we have the Sinclair SC229 omnidirectional series there, about 1900. So it has about 6 dB a gain. What was the other one? 6 dB, same thing. Okay, but this is an end-fed vertical fiberglass, and it's ideal for all the sorts of things that we are interested in, including, which I find very interesting. If you look way up here, there is a little spike there. I guess it it says to attract lightning, protect it from lightning. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen a lightning strike, but I don't know that that's going to last very long for lightning. All right, anyway. So that's option 2, Sinclair. And by the way, this is Sinclair. The parent company is I think Amphenol, right? The connector company, I think. So this is a real contender here, I think, this thing.
Hey, Joe,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that spike, like on lightning protectors on buildings and stuff, it's not to attract the lightning. It actually dissipates the static electricity in the air, making that antenna less visible to lightning, is actually what it does.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you. And that makes perfect sense. I remember back when I was a novice a few years ago, during a storm, and I unscrewed the PL259 off the back of the receiver, and I was actually a spark had jumped because of the static buildup between the center conductor and the end, and I had never seen that. I was very surprised, but that makes a lot of sense. That's great. Yeah, yeah. All right, so option 3, we have the Telewave antenna 150D, ANT 150D6. Okay, about $810. Again, we're back in the folded dipole area there. And here we're about 9 dB of gain. Okay, wind survival 175 miles an hour. So, okay, it's you know, it looks good. The next item is the Comet GP9 for $225. Okay, so you can see there's a big range. There's a big range in terms of cost. Here's the cheapest one here is the Diamond F510 for $210. But they look at these two antennas. If you look to the right over here, where's my pointer? Let me get my pointer out. If you look at to me they look like the same antenna, and they come in 3 sections, which would certainly make it easy to get it up to the roof. But I don't know, why is one antenna 225 and the other one is 2,000 plus? I don't know, but something to think about. Okay, so we're going to vote on these. I'd be interested on everybody's feedback. We'll get these posted, get it out to everybody, and so on. Okay, and then finally the Diamond. So those are the. Oh, there's one more. Sorry, one more. This is an antenna that the vendor that we got our one quote from that Mike had put an inquiry about. They provided this antenna, okay? So also something to think about. It's really small, but it does have this incredible 200-mile-an-hour wind rating.
Actually, that's the one I specified when I asked them to quote.
Oh,
I
is
said
that where it came from?
equivalent to
Yeah.
the Telewave ANT 150F2, and that's what they put in that quote.
Oh, great. Okay, so it's a contender too.
It's got
So
0 dBd of gain. It's basically
right, that's right, because
it's a dummy load.
pretty much. Well, yeah, kind of, sort of. I mean, it right. Not a lot
Maybe
of
I
gain.
goofed.
The
I
gain
thought it
here
was the
is
6 dB
8.3.
gain one.
Is 8.3. This one is 6.3 dBd, and I'm using dBd because there's a what is it 2.15 dB difference between that and a isotropic. Anyway, so this is here. This is 6 dB gain, as are these two. Anyway, so those seem to be the contenders. Those seem to be the contenders. So I would like everybody to take a look at this on their own time, and then we'll send out like a survey, and I'd be interested in what antenna you think works and why, and that will help.
Joe, I have a question.
Sure.
We'd been talking, or you'd been telling us we need to have something with a much higher wind rating.
Right.
And those less expensive antennas don't even hit 100 miles an hour. So
Right.
what is the actual spec we need to have before we start all evaluating these antennas so we evaluate it correctly?
Well, the one thing that would be good to look at, and you can double check my work on this, is I looked up what is the maximum wind speed ever recorded in Oak Park, Michigan, actually Oakland County, Michigan. So I took that wind speed and then bumped it up, I don't know, about 15 or 25%, something like that, because with the weather changing the way that it is, the winds are only going to get stronger. They're not going to get less. So we want to be above whatever the maximum wind speed was. And that's what set the guide. Right now, I haven't seen anything above 200 miles an hour wind, and that's probably not sustained wind. That's probably peak wind. And then the other thing to consider too is ice, because ice knocks down the maximum wind survival considerably. So those are the two conditions. We're not going to look at ice just because that's a little bit more complicated. But that's where the 200-mile-an-hour wind speed, ideal wind speed, but life is a compromise. So we'll see what we end up with. But it sure would be nice to be on the air, especially during bad weather.
Joe,
Yeah.
might I suggest when you send it out that you pare it down? You know, the one that's on the screen right now, 0 dB gain,
Yeah.
we don't want that, right?
Right.
So
No.
why is it in the contention? Get it out.
Well,
You know, and the stuff that isn't strong enough for wind conditions, throw them out. We don't want to accidentally get the wrong one.
well, this one here, is what? This one here is rated at 200 miles an hour. So here's a good example, actually. It's rated 200 miles an hour, just, with no ice. And with ice, it drops by 50 miles an hour, right? So, but again, we are currently in the pie in the sky phase of the project where we want to just see what's available. And I agree with you. 0 dB, I don't know. That's
For
that would be a tough one.
$2,000, I wouldn't recommend it.
Exactly.
Not at
So,
all.
we'll take. I'll email I'll email this presentation to everybody, actually.
And,
So you
and
have
Joe,
it
if you could also include the specs on the current antenna, just so we have a comparison if we're going up or down or whatever.
right
Yeah.
here. These are the specs for the current
Yeah, because
antenna.
our current antenna has lasted, what, 25 years now? I mean, let's.
25. You can double that.
Oh, is it
40.
50? Okay.
Yeah.
No.
And listen, how can you say no? I mean, how can you something that's worked for 50 years, 45 years, whatever it is, there's got to be something to it. Why change it is my philosophy, I think. And I just noticed something, by the way. Look up here. Look what's up there. How about that? A static charge dissipator, I guess. It must have a fancier name. All right, so we're going to vote on this. Take a close look at it. I'll send this out and be interested just to get everybody's feedback, and we'll go through that next week. All right, so the next big thing here is the footprint. So this is something that was calculated a very long time ago, but it's the only one that we currently have. So I just wanted to show what's currently existing in our library, and I hope to update that. And the way we can update that is by using this radio mobile propagation software. It's terrific. It's great. I've used it before. I have not used it in a long time, and it's changed quite a bit. So it takes a little getting used to. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it really performs quite well, and it gives us something that looks like that. So once we have our predicted coverage area, the next thing we want to do, of course, right, is to go out and measure it. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we go out and measure the existing footprint to see what is and what isn't? And this is where I think Mike is going to help us here, N8VDZ. He may not know that yet, but we could use your help on this, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, yeah, I've volunteered this a couple of times. I can be driving around all day if you want.
Well, okay, hold on. All right, hold that thought for a second. First, let's talk about equipment. So here's what I've come up with. So this is ideal. This is absolutely ideal. So this is the SDR Play, and it works on a laptop. And all it is this little box and a mag mount antenna, and anybody can use their laptop and drive around with this thing. And it's really, it'll do the job for us. And I'll tell you why this is important. Because first of all, so we'll use this piece as the mobile receiver. In addition, though, we have to use this piece here, which is the GPS receiver, okay? And that'll give us our latitude, our longitude, our altitude, and of course the time and date of when we're taking our measurements. So that's where the GPS comes in. And this is a mag mount. I have this. I bought this for FT8 operations many years ago, and it works great. Really works very nicely. Now the other advantage of this is it gives us an S meter reading. Okay, and what we can do is take a screenshot. So you don't, without even thinking, all you have to do is push the button to take a screenshot, and we'll have the screenshots. And so we'll have this to take back with us. But in addition to the S meter reading, what it also gives us is signal level, okay, minus 82.8. So we have the signal level of the RF carrier. In addition, we get the signal to noise ratio. This is all with a push of a button there, right? And then what it also allows us to do as we drive around, we can confirm that there's no spurs at the left and right side of our carrier to make sure things are looking nice and clean the way they should. Now we know in most of the footprint we are clean. Now there are some areas that people have questions about, and so this will answer those questions for us. So that's a good thing. And then finally, the other thing that this helps us as we're driving around from different positions, we can look at the spectrum and see, really, are we really have intermod somewhere? I know a lot of people think we do, but let's look at the data and we'll make our decision. So this is, I think this is the way to go. And multiple people can use the same equipment. It goes between, cars very easily. You'll have to use your own laptop. It's just a USB connector. So really it works well. So I think this does, and we will have a permanent record of what our footprint actually looks like.
So how expensive is that? Just out of curiosity. Do you know?
It's about, I think I paid about $200, I think. I mean, the software is, you don't pay for the software comes with it. But the
device.
box,
yeah.
Let me get back to the box here. There. But this is what you purchase is this box here. That's all that they give you. And then you download this from their website. And so it may be a little bit more now. Mine's about 10 years old at this point, and they probably have even more features. Although I will tell you one great thing about an SDR is as features evolve, they can update it. So that's
Does it come with antenna?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Yeah,
But
so
if we have a standard antenna, we can get a
yeah, because you want to use the same antenna everywhere. You don't want
the antenna in this little box will go as a package.
Yeah.
And that can be passed around and people can take 2 or 3.
Do we already have this? Did you say you already have one, Joe?
Well, I have, this is my SDR, yeah. So and I can donate it to the cause here.
So Joe, I'm curious, you're just going to check the signal strength of the dart around town? That's all you're going to accomplish. You're not going to be able to accomplish how well the dart is receiving stations around town with that. So I think that seems to be the major dilemma right now is what the dart hears. It's being heard probably in a good 50-mile radius. I mean, this is actually, in my eyes, kind of redundant. We know the dart is being heard, but it's not hearing the people that are hearing the dart. If you want to do a test, work with the stations that are out there already, with a base station, actually, like Greg out there in Waterford. And there's some people on the east side as well that were in on the earlier net, as well as the southwest. They hear the dart really well, but they can't get into it. We know the dart gets out. In fact, I've worked stations on Simplex that have tried to work the dart, and I hear them on the input with my Yagi, and I can take them on Simplex and work them directly. And the dart at times is being heard into Maryland. So there's no doubt that the dart isn't being heard. The problem is that it's not hearing as well as it's being heard. So if you want to do a field test, you'd have to have somebody at the dart or close to it, perhaps like myself. I'm a mile and 3 blocks away. I even have that SDR right now on my system, and I've taken multiple screenshots and videos of the dart and some of the IMD that it is causing. So With my problem though, it's a fundamental overload between the Dart and the Spirit of 76. Fundamental 1 by fundamental 2 creates the third order, and it happens to be the calling frequency. So go figure on that one, as luck
Where
would
do
have
you
it, right?
where do you think
So,
that mixing is taking place?
well, there's another problem that is being emitted from the Dart, and that's intermod on the input and the output. So if you do the math on fundamental 1 and fundamental 2 in both directions, it'll come out on 147.240. And that is the Wyandotte repeater. And other
Right.
people have heard it. If you're close to the Dart um, and transmitting on that, it'll hear you on the input. Now, I think the reason is perhaps is the way that John has it connected to the UHF. He's using Echolink. And what's happening is he's transmitting the input frequency on VHF to the input frequency on UHF. So from the Dart, it's transmitting the input frequency via the output frequency to the input frequency of the UHF. So there's there's third order harmonics being generated. They're not very powerful. They're probably about an S4, S5, and it depends who's close, what station is working it on the input. And
Right.
I've noticed it doesn't happen when the two repeaters aren't linked. So that link between the two right now should be disengaged immediately. It's not working. It's not efficient. And the quality, the lag time quality, you can't even hold a conversation. Usually drop out because people aren't done talking when someone's trying to get in through the crossband. So
What
that's
kind of
my
radio?
observations. What's that?
What kind of radio are you using?
Well, you name one. I have an FTM 400, an FTM 2980. I
Yeah.
have the Kenwood TMV 708 and the 771 Alpha.
Okay. So just a couple things. One, and
Okay.
you're very close to the repeater. Uh, it'd be interesting. Have you ever tried to put an attenuator on the front end of your receiver that you're
No,
having the
but
trouble
I
with?
do have my attenuator is the 10 element Yagi. So I can
What do you mean?
attenuate the Dart right out. I can attenuate the fundamental overload on
Right.
5.2 by
Right.
rotating the Yagi. So
Okay.
no, I have no, what I would require would be a notch filter of some sort to notch out the Dart. Right now, the Dart into me is 60 over, 60
Right.
over S9. It's very
So
powerful.
it's
And then
clobbering
when
your
the
front end.
and
My
then when
yeah.
when the Spirit of 76 transmit at 900 feet at 200 watts of digital hash, it intermods, it mixes with the Dart analog, and the third order is on 14652 and 146.88, which is Jackson, but it's
Right.
only localized around here. So every ham that's around Berkeley here and Royal
Right.
Oak, Hugh as well, I think he can mention it. You hear it fundamentally overloads all the front ends of the radios that are local to the Dart. It's not
Right.
necessarily being emitted, it's just a powerful signal. It's desensing beyond, the next order of desensing is fundamental overloading. So
Right.
unfortunately, I can't do anything besides move. So there's no way I can delete it without a notch filter, and I can't afford cavity filter. So,
Right.
Excuse me,
Right.
Al
yeah,
said that the Spirit is transmitting 200 watts.
I think they're back up to 200. If they aren't,
Because
they're at 100.
Wallace told me he's got his amplifier down to 80.
Ah, okay.
Now
Well,
maybe
then
it's
they backed it
200
down.
with all the gain and loss and everything going up the tower.
Well, he
Maybe
has
it's
a lot.
200,
Oh,
200
wow.
watts
No,
ERP.
if he has 80 watts and he's at 900 feet, and I don't know what kind of antenna, if he's at 6 dBd, well, you can just
Yeah,
go
that's
6 times
probably
80.
where you got the 200 from was
And
So
then, well, his ERP would probably be closer
ERP.
to about
all right.
5,000 watts ERP at that point.
Can we take this offline, you guys, if you don't
Sure.
mind, so we can get through? But so there's two things I want to point out, Al. One, the reason we're doing this, the primary reason we're doing this in the first place, is we want to be able to confirm that when we change antennas, that we have a foot coverage area footprint equal to, or hopefully better than, what we currently have. So it's all about the testing the antenna and making sure that we're
Well,
meeting that.
to,
Now, on the receive side, here, on the receive side, We have, we'll have equipment at the dart, at the receiver, receiving, being able to evaluate that. And that's part of the plan that's going to be confirmed here. Everybody, hold on just 2 seconds, would you? Oh, never mind. All right. So that's our primary purpose, is to be able just to confirm that the antennas is working. So that's where
The
that's
one
that.
main
But
way
to
you're
your
gonna be able to.
point, it's a good, yeah, receive. Now, generally speaking, if we didn't have all the auxiliary receivers and things, the transmit and the receive characteristics of antenna are exactly the same in terms of the footprint, right? Whether it's receiving or transmitting. But you raise a good point, and we need to look at both ends of the link. You're right; it's a two-way link, and we will, and keep on us on that. But
And
again, the
properly-
primary thing is just to be able to confirm that when we make our changes, that we're
Well, the only way to properly verify that the changes you make between the antennas is to do an apples to apples comparison. So basically, even 10 feet, 5 feet, one wavelength at these frequencies makes all the difference in the world. The problem with the antenna receiving right now could be some external interference coming in, like someone's microphone. If there could be a way, when you do erect a new antenna, before you put it in a new location, swap it out with the current location and do a test there also, just to verify that the old antenna was really in need of being replaced and it isn't the location. You might find that the new location might be worse than the original location. And that would be the only reason I would recommend a folded bay 4-bay antenna, because that way you can attenuate it and direct the gain and reception a little bit. That would be the only reason. Especially,
Hey, Andrew, your mic, okay, close.
I just closed everybody's mic. Hey, Al, can you open your mic again, please? I'm sorry, just as there was background
okay,
noise.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't know where you left off. Did you hear me at all or not?
We got point well taken. Point well taken. And
Okay, now I've lived along 696 for 62 years now, and I know of all the interference the 696 corridor causes. So the interference flying around up there at that height, there's a lot of new antennas now along 696 that are being used for emergency services. The one down there by Lester's house by the zoo, that thing radiates a bunch of noise. I can contest to Les in his defense that yeah, there's a lot of RF around his house. And that's probably one of the reasons he can't make it in with an HT. But I would just be very cautious about a final mounting place for that new antenna up there in RF Valley, that it isn't going to be worse than the current location. So a quick swap out. And actually, if you want, I have 2 antennas right now in my garage. If you want to do a swap and comparison with the old antenna that's up there with a simple dual band tram antenna to see if that improves the reception, you will know right there if the problem was the antenna or not in the first place. Because other than that, it could be something on the RF amplifier or the RF mixer. You're going to have to break down that system there. Or it could just be the old Quantar. And you ask what to do with the old Quantar? Sell it to Wallace. He loves them.
No, we're going to keep it as a redundant.
All right, have him look at it, though. I don't know whatever happened with that. Hopefully he can look at it.
All right. Okay.
right.
Good. Well, thank you for that.
Okay.
And yeah. Okay. Where were we now? Let me see. Oh, I do want to say, one thing. I don't know if you heard yesterday on the Sunday Night Net. You mentioned Les. He came in gangbusters yesterday. He had the loudest and most the quietest signal. What's the word I'm thinking of? Quieting.
Yes.
And
don't tell him
great
that, though.
audio. I don't know what he was using last night, but whatever that was, that's a winning combination. That's for sure.
Joe, real quick off topic. Yesterday, also during the pre-net, there was a gentleman who lives up in Rochester, and we talked about we're talking about the website, and it hasn't been updated since last August. There
Yes,
hasn't been any new information. And this gentleman has volunteered. I guess he's a web guru. So I don't know. He says he's sent you emails, and I don't know if you've talked to him yet or not about it, but he's more than willing. He keeps raising his hand to take care of the web page. So
I sent him an email today. Are you
okay.
talking about oh,
I think it's W8SJW. I'm not Ken, is it?
Ken Lord?
Brian?
Yeah, Ken
Ken.
Lord. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I sent him an email
Okay.
today. I know I've been swamped, and
Okay.
he has, and we appreciate it and have every intention. Work with him, working with Mike, and also working with there was one other person here. Anyway, I can't remember, but yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, I reached out to Ken. I'm trying to get caught up here. Okay, so now we got that all done here. Hold on. Oh, I'm stuck. Hold on a minute here. There we go. Okay, so this is what we need from Mike, N8VDZ. So we obviously can't be everywhere when we try to plot these things out. But what I tried to list here, I went to my buddy ChatGPT, and this is what came back. Okay, so number one, obvious, the primary geographical and population locations. Okay, number two, and this is why Mike, I think, is very well positioned, as is Mark Raymond, for that matter. The critical emergency services, where are they located and how well can they hear us? We want to take signal strength readings in those areas that make sense. Obviously, transportation corridors like the major highways and bridges, and well, we don't have very many commuter trains around here, but anyway, public infrastructure, all these different places, water treatment, public schools, shelters, and so on. So these are some of the things. So we want to develop a checklist of what are the most input, let's say the top 25 most important locations that we need to know, can we reach it or not? Okay. And then the reciprocal side of it, can we receive from it as well? So, and I'll give that some good thought there, Al, about simultaneously doing the receive side. I've been focused primarily on the transmit side, but more to follow on that. Oh, here, I guess another one. You know, once you start with ChatGPT, it never stops here. So, critical infrastructure. Okay, so these are all good places for that. So that's what we have here is just, it's pretty much what we went through last week. We'll have to, this is small stuff, nickel and dime stuff, but we got to get the transmission line. We'll also have to figure out what we want to do with duplexers. Okay, so that's in progress here. I'm not exactly sure how to evaluate that other than doing pretty much the same thing we're doing with antennas and going through and seeing what all the what all the vendors are, manufacturers are providing. Here's another one there. So those things. So now this is what I was talking about before when it comes to the repeater. Obviously, the Motorola and this particular one is the gold standard there. So we'll match everything else against it and see how well things fare. These are the specifications for the Motorola. So all the other units that are available either match this or are better than this. And if they're not, then they're not a contender. So again, we have the Yaesu DR2X, the Motorola MTR2000, which is what we just showed, the ICOM FR6300, and the Hytera RD985. Now, something that's above my pay grade, repeater controllers. I need somebody who is experienced in this, kind of needs to help a little bit on this, although I found out today that the original list of RF equipment, was put together by let me see if I can remember this. So John A8UU, and I know that David was part of this. I know that who else was in there? There's 2 or 3 other people. So let's, make sure that this meets all our needs. I don't think there's a lot of choice in this department because there's not a lot of availability. These are the list of features, and there seems to be a ton of them, and it looks very impressive to me, but I have really little experience on this, so
Can you
I leave it to
possibly
the experts.
ask Sean for his recommendations? Because he does nothing but build repeater sites, and I think
He's
we
part of
should
our group.
I
He's
think
part
we
of,
should be taking all the cues from him actually and his recommendations.
yeah, for sure.
Let's just
He's a
throwing
strong
money at the
player.
wind.
Yeah. He's part of our group. He's a member of our group, just so you know.
Right.
You know,
we used to
your
Right.
transmitters only put out 50 watts. Did you plan to hook them up by?
That's right. So
Wire?
we would need an amplifier for that, which we would need to consider too.
Uh, at
So,
the risk of having something thrown at me,
yeah.
because I don't know very much about Motorola other than you have to own the software to do anything to it. The last time we looked at this, I looked heavily into the Yaesu DR2X, and it has a repeater controller built into it.
I'm thinking, does it?
That sounds good.
Well, we have one of those, right?
There's
The
a
Yaesu
it's
no,
the
the 2R,
DR2X.
the 2R, yeah.
Okay.
The repeater at the UHF site is
Never been there. Don't even know where it is.
we need to make a slide on that then. All right.
But yeah, it does have a repeater controller. Like you can set your timeout timer on it. You can do your identification on it. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do in that Yaesu one, but I know nothing about the Motorola.
Well, I will tell you this, and honestly, Motorola is the standard. It's been the standard from day one. It was a very first Motorola, by the way. How did they get their start doing police radios back in the
Yeah,
1920s, I think, or
yeah.
1930s or something like that? But I will tell, and in the early Motorola days, the days of the Quantar, they had fantastic documentation, really good documentation. Nowadays, it's not quite the same, but it's certainly adequate. And I have had great luck working with Motorola equipment. But I want to keep an open, we should all keep an open mind at this stage, keep the net wide, and we'll limit it, we'll limit things down according to what our needs are. But the first thing is we have to define what is it we want this system to do, right? So that's why we're listing the functionality. And so when you get the email, I'm going to send this out as an email to everybody. When you get it, take a look at that and absorb that and see what you might be able to come up with.
Well, Motorola must be good because that's what Adam 12 used.
Oh yeah.
One Adam
Okay.
12.
All right. Well, there you go. I'm sure product placement, right?
Hmm.
All right. Here are some controller options. Again, brought to us by ChatGPT. Surecom SR628. Okay. And this other, I don't even know, Ideomatic 4. That's a great name. Arcom RC210 and the Link Communications RLC, in addition to, is that the same one? This other unit here. So you'll see, and so on. So anyway, so we'll get this out there. And the rest, and everything else is the same from last week. We'll just go through it real quick. So, okay, our circulators and isolators, nothing really much to say there. I mean, it's like buying one brand versus another. They're all pretty much the same. Shows a little bit how they work, how if you put an input into one input, like input one only goes to input two, and so on and so forth. And that's how they're able to the whole purpose of this is in a highly intense RF environment, which we used to be in. We're not so much anymore, but we used to be with all that telephone equipment. I think, by the way, that that new tower you're talking about near the zoo, it would seem logical to me to assume that the equipment that used to be in our area there at the top of the apartment, that's where it all is now. It was all moved when Sprint purchased when T-Mobile purchased Sprint. So anyway, all
It's
right.
also part of the new P25 public service system too for the whole Oakland County and Detroit.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Good. All right. And this is just slides I had, so I threw them in. Just take a look at it. Now, why do I have this? I somebody had mentioned something. And so I made this slide, but now I forgot what the issue was. But okay, a 2 meter Yaesu, sounds fine to me. Got it. All right, so this isn't for this, but remote receivers. There was an email came by. Oops. Remote receivers, right? So think about it, that inside this little handheld unit probably is as competent as, a rack, 19-inch rack, 3 rack unit high units that we used to use. So anyway, that's for a future discussion.
Well, that
And
that handy talkie is not full duplex.
is that right? Is that right? Okay. Yeah. Really? How can it? No, that can't be. How
It's
can it
two
not be?
bands. It's
The
not full duplex. There's no. I
the
haven't never seen a full duplex handy talkie actually. So you
the
can't cross band
original
with it.
the original thought way back when I wasn't fully on board with it, but I'm not going to throw people under the bus. Um, the original thought was that the remote locations would get 2 of these, one on VHF for receive and one on UHF for transmit with an idiomatic board between them, and that you would basically crossband them using an aux cable from the speaker to the microphone through the idiomatic board.
But
I don't think
basically,
it would
what
ever survive. Go ahead.
they're doing that right now with the Alinkos.
Correct. It's doing the same thing as we're doing with the Olinkos, but with just 2 handy-talkies. That was the plan.
And when
Okay.
handy talkies have the guts to be on 100% duty cycle just about for who knows years.
Ooh.
Well, last week when this slide was shown, I'm not sure, but somebody spoke up and said that this is the wrong idea and that we shouldn't be doing this. So I think the thought is
Right now,
moot.
there are no wrong ideas right now. We're in that stage in the project. There's no wrong ideas. Well, I shouldn't say there aren't any wrong ideas, but again, we want to cast a wide net and we'll limit things down as we move forward. So, and it's interesting.
Also, if we're looking at doing, is it all-star voting? Is that the protocol that we're looking at as all-star?
It's been mentioned, yeah.
So at that case, we would not actually need a transmitter at the receive sites. We would need a VHF receiver and then analog to digital converter of some description, and then it would be sent over the IP link to the main, which is what the discussion is. I do have my trepidations. I have concerns that the IP links are going to get washed out by the transmitter, the main transmitter. But that is why we have test beds.
Yeah, we'll get this. We'll get
That
this.
then you lose your 100% reliability for analog backup only, which is
Correct?
one of the
Yep.
benefits of an analog repeater is you're up when everybody else is down.
Well, not necessarily, because we're not relying on the internet. We're going to do a point-to-point IP link. So
Oh, okay.
totally independent of the internet.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Because some of these remote sites, we don't have an internet connection. So we're basically going to send out our network, but not necessarily our internet.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
We
We're
can do
coming up
that.
to 8 o'clock. We're almost done here. Okay. Arduino, I'll leave that to the digital experts there. But just something to consider, and it's got to stay. I just wanted to have, this is really a placeholder so that we don't forget about it. But and then we have all these different types of things. So that's pretty much, I think, what I have for the time being. Is that correct? Oh, one other small thing here.
While you're thinking of that thought, does anybody off the top of their head happen to have the height of the main transmitter?
I'm sorry, the what?
The height, like the elevation of the main transmitter, the main antenna.
Yes, 155 feet. It's 15 stories, right? So figure 10 feet a story. That's pretty standard. So it's 150, plus you have the height of the little house on the roof there, the penthouse, right? And then the antenna is like halfway. It's not all the way up, but so it's, I figure, listen, a few feet don't make a difference anyway. But if you use 155 feet height above ground level, okay, the ground level, I forgot what it is, but it's on the here, I'll show you what it is actually, I think, unless I blocked it
Well,
out.
no, you don't need to. I just need an approximation. I'm using it to do some math for the point-to-point links. And then secondly, does anybody happen to know the approximate height of the hospital?
Okay, so here, right here, if you look at this, and again, ground level 674 feet, right there at the, and that was measured right at the cement like sidewalk that leads into the building, and then 150 feet above ground level, you could figure there on that.
Okay, thank you. And anyone know the hospital?
I'll get it for you. I can.
Hey,
That's
hey,
easy to
Hey,
find out.
Dave,
Yo,
if you go to Google Earth and open up
Yeah.
Google Earth, and you can move your mouse around and you can actually get the ground height elevation by
all
moving your
right,
mouse
cool.
around, and you can lift it up towers and buildings and you get the height of the building. And I've used it to lay out antennas in my little lot, and it's accurate to within about 8 inches from space. So it's
Well,
pretty darn accurate.
hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. In terms of accuracy, you have to have it here. Let me just show you. What are we looking at? Oh, Oak Park, Michigan.
The hospital. I'm looking for the
Oh,
height
the
of the
hospital.
hospital.
Where's
It's
the
Warren.
hospital?
Warren,
It's Warren.
12 Mile and Hoover.
Warren, Minnesota? No. Hold on.
You're
Oh, this
still
is
going
just
to Oak Park.
okay. Here, so here we go. Somebody help me. I don't know the neighborhood here.
12 and Hoover, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
12 and
So
Hoover.
Just go to the main. Go to our main.
you're
See the height
almost
of the
there. Oh,
main.
you just
Yeah.
moved your mouse away.
Yeah,
Where,
you're
right?
almost there.
Right here,
No, that's
It's here.
Groesbeck. You got to go west.
Yeah.
west. Tell me when. Oh, Hoover,
Further.
right here. Okay, I
Stop.
got it. I see
Stop.
it.
Yep, right
All
there.
right. We have target acquisition here. Stand by.
That big gray square is the hospital.
Yeah.
Now I'm lost again. Oh, right up here. Yeah. Okay. So watch this. So watch this. Watch. Here we go. Now, this is important because if you don't, you will get a false reading. What you have to do when you do this is oh, I didn't mean to do that, is you have to go all the way like this, looking straight down. Otherwise, it's not as accurate as you would hope. But to your point, so here's the,
Lift your screen up. I can't see the bottom, the scroll at the bottom that shows you your coordinates.
all right, I'll read them off to you in a second here. Hold on, let me just find this. So you can't see down here at the bottom?
No, the bottom of the window. There's a bar at the bottom of Google Earth.
Oh, really?
Let's
You
worry
see
about
the
that in a
little-
second. Show us
That's
what-
where it shows. That's where it shows you your ground elevation and
Yeah,
your
yeah,
eye
yeah.
elevation. Is at the bottom of Google. There it is down here. Down there in
Yeah,
the
so-
lower right, eye elevation. You see eye elevation?
Right
Yeah,
here.
You see
1297.
elevation right there, and then next to it is eye elevation. Eye elevation is your altitude. The elevation is the ground elevation. See how it's moving around when you go up on
Right.
a building?
So here,
There you
let's-
go.
this is
We
our
put it-
antennas. Our antennas are right here. What are we
Right.
at?
I can't see it. It's so damn small.
Does that look, it
It's
looks like
600
one,
630, 634, I think it says, right?
632, you're right,
Yeah,
yeah.
632 feet.
Yeah.
But then what you want to do is you want to hit a piece of cement over here.
Right.
Now what is it?
Put it on a slight angle. It can't differentiate between
631. Right now,
gotta
it's
angle.
630.
Okay,
All
you
right, but
got to
you get the
angle your
idea,
view.
right?
You got to angle your view. It's got to be on a 3D angle. So hit your shift button and drag your mouse. There you go. Hit your shift.
Yeah,
Like
you got
that.
Keep and drag your mouse button up and down. Hold the shift down.
Yeah.
Now drag your mouse.
You're at 631 right now.
Your
630.
screen's not. There it goes. Now you're starting to get the tilt. You want to tilt it a
629.
little.
Right. That's what I did.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
the same
629.
thing is here. This is
Oh.
the same thing.
Right.
I don't need to waste a bunch
625.
of time working on
All right,
this.
anyway, you get it. You get it.
Interesting.
This is, yeah. Okay, so that's how that's done. But
You know that feature existed.
oh yeah, that's an important. You have to have Earth Pro, I think, or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, all right, that's pretty much what we have. I will send this out, this presentation out to everybody, and if you would kindly take a look at those antennas and let me know. Let me find it now. I'm all goofed up here. Yeah, so let me know. We have option A, B, C, D, E, F. All right?
And you'll send a list of those, or do we have to write them down real quick?
No, I'll send the whole kit and caboodle to you. I'll make it into a PDF, and then you have it.
Plus, there's a YouTube video, or there will be.
Oh, and it will be on the YouTube video. That's correct. Yeah, great. Good. All right. Well, thanks again. Try to keep this to an hour. And we're moving. We're moving in a positive direction. We're probably anticipating maybe another 4 weeks or so till we're in a position where we can start actually submitting those orders. But we'd like to get the purchase orders all created and ready to go. So all we have to do is push the send button when the time comes. So again, thank you for attending, and we hope to see you all either at breakfast or the next meeting or the next board meeting or next week. Oh, next week is
that was my
Memorial
question.
Day. What are we doing?
I won't be here.
I won't
Let
be
me
here.
think. Yeah, no, we're not going to do it on Memorial Day, but all right. Well, maybe we'll think of something.
I might
All
not
right.
even be back. I might not even be back by Tuesday night. I don't know how long it's going to take to drive from up north.
Ooh, yeah. And traffic, I'll just tell you a quick story. It has nothing to do with anything, but you said traffic on Memorial Day weekend. So one of the kids went to camp up in Canada, so I picked her up. And just don't try to cross. And this was before all the border stuff was going on. It took like an hour and a half just to get through because everybody was coming home from their cabins and up north, all that stuff, trying to get across the border. So I would just stay close, stay on this side for now. All right. Thank you, everybody. Ready?